Anytime you, as a woman, notice that the conservative rhetoric has really picked up amongst men, that is actually good news. Men only advocate for women's freedom whenever they don't feel threatened by that freedom at all. Whenever women's freedom would actually benefit them in some way. Like, for example, when all the men were cheering on 50-50 feminism and the kind of feminism that would only liberate women sexually, like as objects, then the men were cheering really loudly, right? But it's whenever feminism actually starts working, men get really scared. The reason that men become frightened of this is because they can feel the system supporting them start to crumble. And men feel really comfortable in a system because they're naturally submissive and they're like a rudderless ship otherwise, just no direction. And they really like the sense of comfort and consistency that a system like the patriarchy brings to their life and to their existence. Whereas women are not naturally very easily controllable or submissible. That's just not how women's brains work. Actually, all of these systems and structures were invented to oppress women and to force them into submission. Men did not have to be forced into submission. They see a hierarchy and they're automatically drawn towards it, right? They want to be part of it. Women, not so much. The reason that men were cheering on 50-50 feminism and all this sex positive like feminism is because that kind of feminism still very much feeds into the patriarchy, and it allows men to put numbers and ranks to women's behaviors and women's contributions and things like that. Men, all of a sudden, with the rise of 50-50 feminism, all of a sudden their big question was, well, now that you make money, but what else do you bring to the table? As if men have ever been expected to bring anything other than money to the table, first of all. And second of all, the thing that women have been bringing to the table for thousands and thousands of years is invisible labor. Keyword invisible, right? Men do not see this labor, men do not value this labor, because if they actually had to put a price on it, none of them could afford it, because everything that men have has happened at women's expense. That's what all of these structures, all of these masculinity, femininity, patriarchy, all of this stuff has only been used to prosper and further the issues of men. And so that's exactly what they're used to seeing. That's why they were all over sex positive movement, right? Because it still benefits them. That's why they were all over, oh yeah, women go get a job now and like pay half the bills, because that benefits them, right? Women have figured out that all of these things were actually very fake feminism and were still designed to benefit the overall system of the patriarchy at the expense of women. It allowed men to exploit women for even cheaper now, like for free. And in the case of 50-50 feminism, they could actually swindle women out of their money also, as well as their invisible labor, childbirth and child rearing and mental load and emotional support and all those things. In addition to that, men now don't even have to pay bills, and they're getting a lot of stuff for free. So you'll notice that it's when women figured this out that now the men want the good old days back, right? Now they want masculinity back. Now they want to bring back slut shaming. They want to bring back body count. They want to shame unmarried women again, whereas before, when that kind of mentality was benefiting them and they could just use women without giving them any legal standing, without women ever benefiting from that arrangement, now that women don't want that kind of stuff and having a man in your life is no longer viewed as a prize, men really are starting to sense and feel the ground that they have lost. They're starting to sense and feel the only way they ever had the upper hand is because this system existed and oppressed women and gave them no other choice. That's why the right to our bodies is being taken away. That's why no-fault divorce is being taken off the table, because these men have realized that women are not naturally submissive. They don't naturally fall in line. And the more rights that you give them, the further away that they're going to try to take themselves from this patriarchal structure that the men have built in order to extract value out of women and in order to exploit women. And that's why they're all of a sudden talking about the good old days. A lot of these men are hoping to male gaze you back into this structure. You know, this is why they're talking about how much more attractive women are who want to be wives and mothers. That's why they're like, oh yeah, like I want a submissive woman. No, you want someone to control and exploit. Notice that a lot of men's solution to this crisis is we have to give every man a wife. We have to get the marriage rates back up. We have to get the childbirthing rates back up. Why? Because otherwise, women moving away from and opting out of this system that built us as men is going to leave it in shambles. When the women exit out of the structure, the only thing that you're going to have is a bunch of lonely, childless, unmarried men. Men. Because the women are not going to be lonely. And the women can always have a child by themselves. They can go to a sperm bank or they can go have a one-night stand with, and instead of having a man and a baby to take care of, they just have a baby. The man is not ultimately that helpful, but the baby gets his last name. The baby gets to carry on his legacy. What legacy? And women have just figured that out and become wise to these tricks. And they're like, no, this is simply a raw deal. and I don't want to do it. And now we have the 4B movement, and now these men are shaking and quaking in their boots. Because without this pervasive idea that men need to be masculine and women need to be feminine and servant-hearted, meanwhile, they go to work, they do all the same things as men just for little to no reward, and they can never actually reach the top, and there's actually no fulfillment in it for them. There's just a lot of like being undermined, undervalued, underpaid, harassed at work. They're still expected to do all that. They're expected to go to work, act like a man, but not be treated like a man, and still pay the price for being a woman. Then they're expected to come home to their husband and baby, who's waiting for dinner, who's waiting for their laundry to be done, who's going to go out later with the boys and have a bunch of beers. And she is just supposed to accept a raw deal around every corner, while the man just gets to be a man. And that's really the trick of it, right? Is these men, they want you to act like both a man and a woman, whatever that means. They just fail to realize that that would actually make you a better person. Like, they don't realize that actually combining masculine and feminine, like, energy, ways of moving about the world is actually extremely beneficial to you as a person, and they are continuing to only hold on to that 50% that makes a man a man. They don't realize that they've accidentally weaponized women to be able to take their own rights and freedoms back, because they wanted to have their cake and eat it too. They wanted women to be both homemakers and breadwinners. They wanted women to be dads at work but be moms at home, prove themselves above men, and women did. And they never challenged themselves. They never challenged themselves on anything. They are realizing that they have pushed women too far. The exploitation has finally backfired. So yeah, ladies, just know that the reason that these men are panicking and acting so weird, this may seem like weird behavior, but it's actually not. This is just what happens when somebody realizes they fucked up real bad. That all the abuse and adversity has finally never actually made women any weaker or easier to control. It just needed some time. It just needed some time, and it needed a few missteps on the men's part. And they finally fucked up real bad, and they know it. And that's why they're trying to take all the rights back and everything like that. So don't be discouraged. Don't be afraid. Keep holding the line. Just remember, you're playing chess, not checkers. Don't let them get into your head with all this stuff. Just keep slowly and quietly moving towards independence. That's really the key. That's the part that they hate the most. They don't hate women when they're participating in the patriarchy. They hate women when they opt out of it. And when they don't submit as easily as men. They have nothing else. They have nothing else to offer. They're scared and they're scrambling and they're shaking in their boots. I love you so much. Godspeed.